Welcome to Squire's Library Online Tutorials. This tutorial will cover judging the reliability of resources. In our current age, we have access to so much information, quite literally at the tips of our fingers. It's hard to know when a resource is something that you can use in a paper. When you find a website or an article or a book, it's hard to know whether or not it is of a good enough quality and reliable enough to use in a paper. Is this the kind of information your professor wants you to use? There are some questions that you should answer anytime you find new information that will help you to know whether or not the resource is reliable and good enough for you to use in your paper. The first question that you want to be able to answer is, who is the author of your resource? I know this seems like a very simple question, but often, especially on websites, there are times where you will find great information, but no one takes credit for it. And there is no way for you to determine how reliable the information is if you can't determine the name of the author. If you find information and no one takes credit for it, you should not use it in an academic paper. You should set it aside and find another resource. The next question you need to be able to answer is, what are the author's credentials? So it's not enough to know just the name of your author, but you have to know what it is about your author that gives them the expertise to give you the information that you have in front of you. Where did your author go to school? And what did they study? What kind of research do they do now? Do they teach on the same topic that they do research in? Does the research that your author is known for coincide with the information that they've written in the article or the book that's in front of you? You want to make sure that the article or the book or the website that you're looking at matches the kinds of research that your author already does. If the author's information and background does not match the kind of writing and research that they are presenting in their book or article, then this is not reliable information, and you should set it aside and find some new resources. The next question you need to be able to answer is, what is the intent of the resource? Good academic articles and books have a very simple intent. The author only wants you to know about the kind of research that they've done and the conclusions that they've drawn from their research. It's just that simple. They're not trying to convince you of anything else. They don't try to manipulate the data to prove a particular point. They aren't trying to convince you of an ideology or a philosophy. They simply want you to know about the research and the conclusions. This is a very hard question to answer. What is the intent of the resource? And the only way you can really answer it is by reading the information in front of you, the article or the book or the web page, very, very critically. Try to read between the lines, so to speak, to determine if the author has an ulterior motive, or are they simply trying to give you the research and the conclusions. Lastly, you need to be able to discover when your information was produced. The idea of when information was written and produced is important because it changes the reliability of the information. Say, for example, that you are being asked to write a paper on DNA. Finding a book in the library that was written in 1975 on DNA might be somewhat valuable, but it's also possible that we've made a few more discoveries in the last 30+ years about DNA, and therefore that might not be the most reliable piece of information you can find. So keep in mind that context is important. When your information was produced changes the reliability of that information, especially for scientists.